Please join me in welcoming Dr. Marcy.
So we're looking at the power of the mind. We're going to talk a lot about that tonight. The heart is really about the extent to which we have access to all of our emotions, and we have the ability to express it. And so there's so many people that come in so wound tight. They're so afraid to be able to access all parts of themselves. And so, of course, you know, we go there. When we talk about body, we're a spirit in a human form, right? So our bodies are talking to us all the time. So if someone's got digestive issues, migraine headaches, out-of-body kinds of sensations, we're looking, I want to know, you know, who are you as a sensual and sexual being? To what extent do you feel connected to your body? To what extent do you have a positive relationship with your body? To what extent is your body knocking on the door and saying, I need your attention, you know? So we look at that dimension. The spiritual realm is really, you know, obviously it's less tangible. But my bias is that we're spiritual beings. So it's not about religious philosophy to impose on someone else, but it's about, you know, why am I here? And to what extent is someone connected to or disconnected from that sense that's greater than the bubble that we live in each and every day? So that's basically you know, an overview of what I'm looking at when I work with people. Ultimately, it comes down, with all of that, it comes down to one thing, really, our relationship with ourselves. That's it. Someone can come in because the boyfriend broke up with them. Someone can come in because they just lost a parent, God forbid. Someone can come in because they can't find a job, or they're feeling, you know, panic. They're having panic attacks, or the identifying issue, right? There's lots of them. You know, but at the end of the day, it's really about how do we feel in our own skin? How do we feel, the extent to which we feel connected to who we are. I don't believe that suffering is a matter of circumstance. It's how we treat ourselves in the face of circumstance, each and every single day. The natural state for all of us when we're born is to be whole, right? Is to be completely in touch with who we are. Completely, we're out there, we're naked, we're trusting that you're going to take care of me, my dependency needs are going to be met, we have no trust issues, it's here I am, take care of me. Have you ever seen a toddler running around naked? It's like they think they are the cat's meow, right? There's no embarrassment, there's no judgment, it's like, here I am. My niece, when she was 4, I'll never forget, we were on the bed and my sister said, who's the cutest girl in the world? And she's like, I am, you know? Now, most of us, if you said, well, it's not about comparing, of course, but who's brilliant in this room? Yeah! Who's brilliant? I am! Are any of you familiar with Carl Hendricks?
Yes.
Okay. He wrote Keeping the Love You Find for singles, Getting the Love You Want for couples. And I like his model, and I did this at 11 o'clock at night, just trying to remember what he said. But basically, it's, you know, here's the round circle of wholeness, of what we come into our life being, right? Heart, mind, body, spirit. The mind. If we're in perfect state of harmony and confidence. I am smart, clever, wise, and capable, right? Body. I am a sexual and sensual being. I love, enjoy, and appreciate my body, right? These are my words, but this is the idea. Spirit. I am in the divine image and likeness to God. I am a child of God, right? Heart. I can feel all range of emotion and express them freely and honestly. Children are honest. They're transparent. It's right there, right? Now, what can you imagine? How many of you in the room are parents? Okay, so for those of you who are parents, you've had the experience. For those of you who are not parents, I want you just to imagine what you would say to a child. Just throw out some stuff. To help them feel good about their body, what would you be saying to them? Anything?
You're beautiful. You're perfectly yourself. You're beautiful just as you are.
Yes. Anything else?
You are so pretty.
You're so pretty. My sister, my nephew was born with a cleft palate. I remember my sister having him we were on the floor, and she was like, I love your toes, and I love your elbows, and I love your lips, and I love your this, and I love your that. You know, she went through his entire body. By the way, my friend's kid just said, do you love my penis? He did. So funny. Mommy, you want to touch my penis? And literally, he's going to bed. He's asking her, "No, honey, that's for you to touch and enjoy." So what can you say to a child that would help them feel in touch with the glory and the magnificence of their mind?
You're so smart.
Great.
You're so smart. You're what?
You're doing great.
You're doing great.
You're a genius
You're a
in your
genius.
own right.
You're a genius in your own right. Okay? Okay? How about heart? Feelings. Helping them to be in touch and express their feelings. What can you say to a child to really incorporate that and try to encourage that?
Oh, you're very upset right now.
Pardon me?
You are very upset.
You're
right
very
now.
upset right now.
How do
So
you
sort of
feel right
speaking for them when they don't have the words, right?
Ask them, how do you feel right
How do you feel? Yeah.
Feel everything.
Feel everything. It's okay. I know you're really frustrated. I am too sometimes. Okay, yeah. What else? Anything
I
else?
tell them oh, that's so thoughtful of you, it's so nice when they share.
Yes, yes. So thoughtful of you.
I always tell my daughter she's safe.
You're so safe. Yes. Well, that's, yeah. And that shows in spades. Okay, spirit. How could you help, what messages could you say to a child that would help them realize that they're really a divine being?
Your
You're
magic.
a divine being.
You're a divine being. Magical.
You're so special.
You're so special.
You're unique.
You're unique.
You're a child of God.
You're a child of God.
I tell mine she's my angel.
Your angel. You're my angel. Yes.
All your answers are right within you.
All the answers are right there. Yes. Yes.
You are
Yes.
connected to everything and everyone.
Yes. Everybody is connected. You are connected to everything and everyone. So, what messages do you think, what gets in the way of this beautiful, holistic picture that children might hear from parents, teachers, coaches, churches, okay? What might they hear in the mind, with the mind?
You're not doing it right.
Yeah.
You're not doing it right.
You're wrong.
You're wrong.
Stop doing that.
Stop doing that.
You're stupid.
You're stupid.
Or
You're
other
stupid.
people think.
What are other people gonna think? Right. Mhm.
It's your fault.
Talk about the beginning of other directed versus self-directed, right?
Shame on you.
Shame on you. Huge. Who said that? Yes.
Why
Okay.
can't
We're gonna
you
get
do
to
it like
shame.
so-and-so?
We're gonna get to shame in a second. What negative, toxic messages might they hear about their bodies?
Oh, you're fat.
You're too fat. What else?
Sure.
To a
You're
child?
too short. To a child. Yes. When early in life. What messages? Anything else about the body that would get them disconnected from their
ugly
hair?
Don't.
I don't like your hair. Ugly hair.
You stink.
Yes.
You have bird legs.
You have bird legs. Yes. Okay. Okay.
Never
Pretty, if only you would lose some weight.
You're so pretty. If only you could lose some weight. Oh, honey, I was 30 pounds heavier than I am now in high school from 10th grade to my junior year of college. I so know what that feels like. Okay, what else? Anything else on your mind? How about feelings? How do you just squash that one? What comes to mind?
Shut
Stop
up.
crying.
Shut up.
Stop crying.
Stop crying.
It's okay.
It's okay. Forget it. It's okay.
It's okay. You want
Get over it already.
It's no big deal.
It's no big deal. I'm going to add a few that we haven't talked about.
Bad girl.
Oh, bad girl, that's for sure. Okay, so in general, okay, let's say we're talking about families. Obviously, verbal abuse. And by the way, verbal abuse is not always calling someone a bad name. Verbal abuse can be everything from bad girl to shut up to, okay, right? I had a client one time, I had a client tell me in Chicago that out of her mother's mouth, you ready for this? You're the abortion I should have had. I could tell you I could fill up the space tonight, just the story of this extraordinary woman, okay? But needless to say, I saw her for 4.5 years, and she was truly extraordinary. And by the way, I remember saying to her, how did you get, she was removed from the house, then she was thrown in foster care over and over and over. Then the mother would come back and get her and do more damage, okay? I said to her, how did you incorporate this wisdom and this loving spirit? And, you know, she talked these horror stories. You know what she said? My foster care family, when I was 3. And I said, 3? She remembers a foster care home at the age of 3 where she was exposed to a loving, safe environment. And that stayed with her whole life. And I said, gosh, did you ever have contact? And she did have contact later on. Extraordinary, okay? But that's what came out of her mother's mouth, right? By the way, I saw her because she had a cocaine abuse,
Addiction.
Overdose, thank you. But I want you to know she has 5 children today, is happily married. Amazing. But that's what her mother said. Physical abuse. I had a chronic schizophrenic, or so I was told. Years ago, they said, oh, she can't tolerate a lot of time because she's really, you know, she had body dysmorphic disorder. She thought she looked like a monster. Meanwhile, she was this seriously beautiful woman from Haiti. Okay. Her father would make her sit on light bulbs, or with her knees. Okay, and then stare up at a light bulb with no, up here at the ceiling with no
Shade.
bulb, okay, for hours. All right, now, is mental illness because it's genetic? It's a $1 million question. I realized when I worked with the chronically mentally ill that I would be nuts out of my mind as well. I mean, what people have gone through. But even this woman, so extraordinary, it took us 4 years, no, I'd say it took us about 2 or 3 years before her focus on I'm a monster went away. It really went away, but it took a lot of, you know, and she was perfectly capable of being in a room for 45 minutes and perfectly capable of connecting. And when I left the counseling center after 4.5 years, I'll never forget her being over there in the hallway. And I burst into tears when I was like, our last session. She says, oh, is it me? Like, she thought she felt shame initially. Because I said, honey, this is because I'm gonna miss you. And it's been so incredibly meaningful for me, and you're such an inspiration. And she gave me a CD, and it's love songs, okay, love songs. And when I walked away, I'll never forget her looking away and you know, us sort of catching eyes. But this is a woman that never had that experience. I literally, it was me and another human being in the world that she had in her life. That was her world, okay. Physical abuse, sexual abuse, as you know. Does anyone know Courage to Heal book?
Yes.
The Courage to Heal, it's not just about healing from being violated, it's healing from feeling blame and shame. The child internalizes, well, I did it and I cooperated and it actually kind of felt good sometimes. That's okay, so that's the experience. And then of course you can only imagine the self-loathing that comes from that experience, right? Now, those are extreme cases, physical abuse, verbal abuse, sexual abuse. Oh, and then of course there's neglect, right? There's a study that just showed that the damage is often more when someone's neglected, like they don't even know you're there, than when there's negative reinforcement. Who said dismissive? It's like you're invisible. I can't tell you how many times clients said I felt invisible. Right? Instead of feeling like, oh my God, I'm so glad you're here, right? You see your children, you touch your children. Now, benign neglect. Benign neglect is what most of us in this room probably experience one time or another. Look, we come into this world whole, right? And then most of us in this room, we have holes in the cheese. Self-esteem is we're not perfectly self-actualized. We're not perfectly in harmony with our greatest potential all the time, right? I call it holes in the cheese. There are things that our parents were able to give us, like nutrients, and there's things that they weren't able to give us. And most of the time, they meant well. They love us. They gave us what they could. It wasn't intentional, right? But there were holes in the cheese, and there were things that we did not receive, that we deserved and we needed in an optimal setting, okay? So here's some examples, and maybe you'll relate to some. Ignorance. What came out of my mother's mouth to my 2 older sisters, honest, and by the way, my mom is one of the most loving people, but she was 25, whatever, out of her mouth or whatever comes, this is my pretty one and this is my smart one. So my pretty sister never felt smart, and my smart sister never felt pretty. And the reality is, they're both magnificent, okay? And she also said to one of them, there's a girl that doesn't know how to make a decision. So she started to find herself. I don't know how to make a decision. So it fed on itself over and over and over in her life. Lack of attunement. Lack of attunement and affirmation for feelings. I think you said it, Corrine. When it's don't feel sad, don't feel mad, Don't, right? Now, as opposed to when a child's startled, or you're startled, it's like, oh, I know, there's the train. You affirm, right? Now, you can help them out of that feeling state too, so that they don't have to wallow in it, but you don't. The parent's trying to help, the caretaker's trying to help, right? But it's actually minimizing the feeling. And then what happens is we start to mistrust our natural instincts and our intuitions, right? We stop listening, we stop trusting. Shaming messages, children are sexual beings. I could tell you stories. I have stories from my friends' kids that are hysterical about exploring their bodies. And a lot of people have had experiences where they were shamed, right? They were caught touching their bodies and it wasn't okay, it wasn't right. I had a client just recently, they came in as a couple and his issue was that she was so frigid. And you know what? When she was exploring her body as a young girl, her father basically told her at the dinner table that he found out and she's to leave the table. I mean, right? So she got a little disconnected from her body, right? Yelling. I mean, how many parents do we know that are consistently adhering? But I'll tell you a great story about yelling. Now, this is not about us being perfect parents and never raising our tone, but this is how a child, in even a really wonderful environment, my niece was 4. My sister was all about, feelings and expressing yourself and love and affection and whatever. This kid was brought up in a very healthy household, comparatively speaking. I watched this. It was Christmas vacation. She was going to be in a little talent show. I'm going to talk a lot about her because there's so many great stories that exemplify this stuff. She was going to be in a talent show, and she got a splinter in her foot. And she was backed up, and we were there for like 45 minutes, drama queen. Okay, no, okay, no. Finally, my sister got frustrated and said, Susanna, we have got to go. Raised her voice. She heard, she gets hysterical. Mommy, don't yell at me. When you yell at me, it makes me feel like you don't love me. That's what she heard. Now, the cool thing is she actually expressed that to her. But I'm sitting there going, oh my God, if this kid in an amazing environment can feel that in the moment, that's how it feels. Crimes of omission. It's not just things that are said to a kid, it's things that are not said. You all cannot imagine how many clients I've worked with. It's so pervasive, it's astounding. Who in their home, there was no I love yous. There's no I love yous. And it's so scary to say it. So we work on all this, the be the change you want to see in the world. How can you be who you are despite the fact that your father is wound so tight? Despite the fact that your mother is so stoic because she's afraid of her own shadow and emotional state. Can you still be who you are and walk in the room? That takes some time, takes some work on ourselves, right? But what isn't said, children fill in the blanks. They fill in the silences with their own interpretations. Excessive parental worry. I'm worried about you. Well, okay, I've worked with my mom and that's okay. Okay, thanks mom. I know that comes from love, I get that. But when you're worried, you think about that. It sort of undermines the person's capacity to go, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. And you know what? There might be bumps in the road when you go to college, but I trust that you can handle this. It's part of life experience. Live and learn, baby. Right? Instead of, I'm worried, are you going to be okay? How about when we veer off from our own sort of center of harmony and acceptance and compassion and forgiveness and appreciation for ourselves? What does it look like? A sense of unworthiness, right? Personalizing things. This is a huge one. If I project something onto you, okay, and I say to you, Lorinda, I don't like you. Or I say, Lorinda, you don't like me. And it's like, you're like, excuse me, where did that come from, right?
Right,
Okay. If that's projection. Projective identification is when you start dancing with me and you play ball and you say, what do you mean you don't like me? Well, I never said I didn't like you. What are you talking? And you start reacting, right? You start getting defensive and you start getting into a power struggle with this, right? And we all do this.
And that's personalized?
Yes, you're personalizing my message when in fact my message, most of the time when we get sort of negative energy stuff our way, it has nothing to do with us.
Right, okay.
Right? But if our self-esteem is wobbly, we might think, why doesn't she like me? And why did he say that? And why, right? And then we start to talk the person out of it. Or we attack them back if we feel attacked. right? So that's when we all know that, wait a second, I need to get back to center, I know who I am. The pleaser is a symptom. When we're a pleaser, that means the other directed stuff. I had a guy that I was dating once, I adored him. But I remember very early in the relationship, he's like, yeah, I'm a pleaser, and I was like, uh-oh, like overdid it, or something. What? I said, well, if you're a pleaser, and you're looking to please me or others, then you're not probably as in touch with your own needs. And if you're not really in touch with your own needs, then you're going to devalue yourself to some extent, and it's going to play itself out. And eventually, you won't really be able to take care of a family. Guess what happened? 3.5 years later, we fell madly in love. We really did, because I saw the best in him. And he was receptive. But that was, at the end of the day, I couldn't marry him because of that. Because this isn't, again, we're not talking about perfect self-actualization, gals. We're not talking about, but we need to be comfortable enough in our own skin. We need to have a partner that's comfortable enough in their own skin to really be able to do life together beautifully. And when we don't, we either need to get ourselves into a couples counselor fast, or the relationship will self-destruct at some point. I went to the village school in Brentwood a couple years ago and to talk about self-esteem to 4th, 5th, and 6th grade graders. The 4th graders say, hey, get out a pen. I want you to write 5 things you love about yourself. And they were like this. And then when I said, who wants to go first? They were all like this. And this and this. And it was very interesting. I thought they were going to be achievement-oriented. They weren't. They were like, I'm a really good friend. And it was really cool. One little girl said, I felt like I was bragging. Okay? So we heard the little sign of that in 4th grade. By 6th graders, 2 hours later, the 6th graders could hardly put pen to paper. Or they could hardly do it. Okay? So, Deborah Tannen, who wrote You Just Don't Understand, the difference between men and women, and she writes about female development. She talks about how the girl's voice after the age of 10 starts to really get squelched, and how little boys see themselves in a network of hierarchical social order. I'm up, I'm down, I'm ahead of you, I'm behind you, okay? So when this is a generalization, this is a broad stroke. But so when little boys in class, who knows the answer? Who wants to be captain, right? When little girls see themselves in a network of connection, right? The little girls, it's all about the slumber party. Can I hold your hand? And we're best friends, and right? So the idea in junior high, it's like, who does she think she is? What are you, stuck up? For you to shine? And for you to go, I know, yeah, absolutely I want to be, yes, absolutely I want to run for president, and this is why. Little girls, a lot of them don't tolerate that, because they don't tolerate it in themselves. Some of you know that I've been facilitating the Artist Way class in my office. We're in the 10th week out of 12. And she calls them the gremlin voices. The little voices in our heads that go, who do you think you are writing that book? What do you have to say? Who do you think you are getting up in front of, who do you think you are prancing around? Who do you think you are jumping on there like you're a fairy and then win? Who do you think you are? The gremlins. And I had a great experience in Bali with, do you all know who Neil Donald Walsh is? He wrote Conversations with God. So one of my gremlins was expecting myself to walk my talk all the time. Because when you're a therapist for like 15 years, it's a head trip, okay? And I'll say to my clients, listen, I am not walking this talk all the time. I'm on the same trajectory. We're in human form. The goal isn't to do this. The goal is to do this. We move, we grow, we evolve, it feels like we get stuck. I just had a whole discussion with a client on the phone. You're not stuck, you're in motion, you're in transition. There's a difference between saying I'm a mess or I'm feeling this right now. Or I'm So my gremlin voice was I would be hard on myself for not always walking the talk. And then I'd be hard on myself for being hard on myself because I was co-coaching people all the time to be gentle with ourselves. And I said that to him in Bali. I said, I really want to heal this part, and I really want to, and you know what he said? I loved it. And here's a guy who's, written all these books on, and he said, we teach what we need to learn. And what he did was he just normalized the whole thing. We can all be human, we can all relax now, and we can support each other on the journey, right? Loved it. So, I want to also share with you, do you all know this book, Power versus Force? Okay, it's a wonderful book by David Hawkins, and I'm just going to share with you that what he did is I heard him speak in Chicago once, he looked at the calibration of energy. When we're in a really high frequency and when we're in a really low frequency. By the way, the purr of a cat is one of the highest frequencies there is. Isn't that cool? And if you think about it, doesn't that make sense? The purr of a cat. Okay? Now, and he has a whole, by the way, check this out. What does it say?
You are beautiful.
You are beautiful. Isn't that great? If I had more, I would watch it. Okay, so the top is enlightenment, right? Bottom, and then it goes joy, love, no, I'll go from the, no. Joy, love, reason, acceptance, willingness, neutrality, courage, pride, anger. Anger's all the way up here. It's not good, it doesn't feel comfortable to be angry, but it's more empowering than being a victim sometimes, right? So when someone starts to get angry, you know, I've worked with so many women that were in really psychically oppressive marriages. And we have a little party when they get pissed. Now the idea is not to keep them there forever and for that to be sort of toxic, you know, but it's important that they feel like this is not cool, this does not feel good, this is not okay, right? Fear, grief, apathy, guilt, and guess what the bottom one is? The bottom of the barrel.
Despair.
Shame.
Who said shame?
Shame.
Shame. Shame. There was a study in infants where the infant, you could see every emotion of the infant, including shame. If you the mother was like looking and cooing and looking and smiling, the baby was crying, but then the mother looked with a scowl on her face like this and stared at the baby, like did not change expression. The baby looked away and put the head down. Shame. This is how fast it can be internalized, okay? So, what can we do? What can we do about this? When we grow up, we have all these experiences. We have good experiences, we have painful experiences and wounding experiences. We have good moments in our brains, in our hearts, and we have other moments that don't feel so good. This is called the flooding exercise. Now stop. No, and face this way, perfect. Thank you. Ray, I want you to do this. I want you to walk around Korean 3 times. And I want you to, whatever comes to mind, superlatives, whatever superlatives come to mind about how magnificent your friend Korean is, okay? Everything from physical to inside, outside, anything that comes to mind. And I want you to, I want you to say it with love, passion for
Can I say it out loud or just
out loud. Oh no. You're
Okay.
gonna walk around her 3 times, and you're gonna flood her with all the superlatives that come to mind.
You're the greatest mom I
Okay.
know. You're very, very compassionate. And you are a wonderful, wonderful friend. You are a very good listener.
Louder.
Very, very good listener. And you make me laugh a lot. And you are also a wonderful lover, according to your husband.
I don't think we ever done it together.
And you're beautiful. And your accent is wonderful. It melts my heart. That's
Okay.
3. Okay.
Okay. Fabulous. Okay. How did that feel?
Oh, I was
Okay.
gonna do it to
Actually,
her.
no, you're not gonna do it to her right now. You're gonna stay right there. How did that feel? To get that.
At first it felt like I was gonna cry, but then I felt warm. I was receiving, which is funny because usually I just keep it out. And this
Yes.
time I was really receiving
You were receiving it.
Yes.
Beautiful. You caught yourself. You said, I put others before me, right? You know, we've heard this before, I'm sure, in the plane when they say, put your mask on and then assist your, right? That's a great metaphor for life, right? Unless we nourish, when I get depleted, and I do sometimes, for sure, I'm less available. And I was working on my dissertation. It was supposed to be 2 years. It became 11 months because my mom had gotten really sick and I was just focused on getting this done. So I was like full steam ahead for 11 months. And I went out and I saw a pillow and I'm like, okay, I am putting this under my bed, and then I can't wait till this is over, and I'm going to put it on the bed forever, and it says, how wonderful it is to rest and do nothing afterwards. Isn't that great? With the Artist Way class, this is really cool. We have time with our partners, we have time with our friends, we have time with our colleagues, we have time with the gym. But how about, she has you for 12 weeks, spend 2 hours by yourself a week, doing something fun, doing something that you want to do just with you, right? I cannot tell you how many women that I've seen that come in around late 20s, late 20s, early 30s, and they've gotten really disconnected. They don't even know what flavor ice cream they like anymore. It's like, they've been so focused on the other, on getting the job, on getting the guy, on getting the da-da-da-da, that they forget, right? So how do we get to know each other? We spend time. So it's about spending time with ourselves. I cannot tell you, I've been facilitating the class has been such a gift to me, because I have so enjoyed my own company, and I really have. And I have to say, I'm like, oh, this is a great dose of this, and I'd like more, and now I really get it. This takes time to get internalized. It takes time, and then not only do we not go back, but when we have moments of returning to that space where we feel like, oh God, I've just neglected myself again, we know how to recognize it. We have a quicker recovery. We get back to ourselves sooner, faster. You all know who Masaru Emoto is, right? Yeah? Some of you? He's the Japanese scientist who basically, he did prayers over water and saw the molecular structure completely change with prayer and with affirmative thought, okay? So, I don't know if you can see this right here. This is the picture. This is the picture. This is the dam water before the incantations and prayer, okay? This whole book is about these experiments, okay? It looks like a yucky, awful, distorted, right? Okay? The dam water after the incantations and prayers, a heptagonal crystal appeared under a microscope. And this is what it looked like. Okay? They literally would pray over this water and send it love and positive messages, and the molecular structure would change under a microscope. Is that astounding? So what's come from this, okay, is, he's got tons of books, and this one's called Love Thyself, and he says, say to yourself your name. Elisa. It's Elisa, I love you. Elisa, I thank you. Elisa, I respect you. If it's difficult to say out loud, say it in your heart first. You'll get used to it. After this, it's also a good idea to say the name of, okay. So he's basically saying, apply the same thing to yourself each and every day. Over and over, right? And over. But this is astounding. This book's incredible. It's called Love Thyself. I just found it. Now, we have a clip of a film that it's 15 minutes, okay? It literally sums up everything I share with you tonight. It's from What the Bleep Do We Know? How many people in this room saw What the Bleep Do We Know? Okay, cool. Well, I saw it 4 years ago, whatever. I hadn't seen it in a really long time, so it's great to see it again. And for those of you who have not seen it, you're in for a treat.